fog zone. I know that what they're telling me they spend is not what they're spending, because if they were spending only that much, there would be a lot more going into savings. So I know they have a fog zone. The fog zone is where our clients' good intentions disappear. Generally, we know what all of our fixed expenses are, and sometimes even our variable expenses. We know rent, we know mortgage, we know car payments, we know utilities, we know all of that. But the part that gets missed is that discretionary part. It's the Amazon purchases, the Target runs, the lattes. I like to throw that one in because that's something that people use a lot. All those little things that add up that we don't realize that we're spending. We're going to come back to that, but right now I want to talk about personality types. Now, I didn't invent personality types. You guys probably have heard of them before. But in my practice, I recognize 5 different personality types. I have a security seeker, a saver, an avoider, a spender, and a risk taker. And I'm going to go through these a little bit more so you can understand what they are. But keep in mind that there is no wrong money personality. It's just who the person is. We aren't here to judge people for being a spender or a risk taker, or judge them for being a security seeker that doesn't know how to spend money in retirement, right? We're here to help them. And in order to help them, we need to understand who they are. It's just a lens for understanding the behavior, and it's not the whole story about them. So I'm going to go through these different money personalities. There's going to be one slide for each money personality, and I'm actually going to ask you to think about yourself. Now, because we're in a room of all people that are in the financial field, you're probably going to have a lot of similarities. There's probably not going to be that much differentiation between you guys, but I think you'll be surprised that there is a little bit. So when we go through, each slide is going to have 5 bullet points. And I'm not going to read them out loud to you because I think, can everybody see the screen okay? I'll ask you on the next slide too. Just raise your hand if you can't see it. I'm going to ask you to count how many of these things that resonate with you, and then hold up your hand when you're done. And we're going to do that for each of the 5 money personalities. And at the end, you're going to pick the one that you had the most, that you identify with the most. Everybody clear? All right. Security seekers, read these 5 bullet points, and when you're ready, hold up your hand, however many you have. Give everybody a round of applause for standing up. All of you money personalities, for standing up and owning your own money personality. So now we're gonna go into talking about your client. But before we go there, I want to talk about couples, right? So you each have a money personality. And the MeMoney Method came from the idea that I put my husband on a budget. So I am the saver, and I feel guilty when I spend money on myself. And he is a spender / avoider, but I'm taking care of it all. So what reason does he have to pay attention? So I put him on a budget because I wanted him to just understand how much money he was spending. I didn't want to control him. I didn't want to make him spend less. I just wanted awareness. So I told him, I'm putting you on a budget. You're going to have this much money, and we're going to put it into an account just for you to spend on whatever you want, but you have to live within the means of that money. That means if you decide to buy something now, you're going to have to say no to something later. If you say no to something now, you can say yes to something later. Now, I already knew how much money he was spending, so I knew I was giving him a container that he could live in. And of course he said, all right, so you're giving me an allowance? And I said, I can give you an allowance if you want chores come with that. Do you want an allowance or do you want a budget? He said, I'll take the budget. And then he said, are you going to put yourself on the same budget? And I said, yeah, I'll put myself on the same budget. Now, I already know I spend less than him. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to give myself the same budget. So I give myself the same budget. We have separate bank accounts that we move the money into every paycheck. The money goes in. We have separate credit cards. We have separate savings accounts, like all of it. We have our own separate money. That's our me money. It wasn't called that then. It was just something that I did to help my husband be more aware of his spending. So now we have these separate things, and I asked him a couple months later, how do you feel? Do you feel like I'm controlling you? Do you feel restrictive? And he said, no, I'm just making better choices. And I was like, what? Okay, tell me more, because this is working even better than I thought. And he said, well, I saw a golf shirt that I wanted. he has a whole closet full of golf shirts, by the way. It's like a whole, like, you know, you'd stretch them out a mile wide. And he's like, but I knew that I had the golf trip coming up. So I decided not to buy the golf shirt because I knew that I would have more money to spend on the trip. I said, that's fabulous. Do you want to go back and get the shirt? And he said, no, I don't, I'm fine. And I said, did you feel bad when you decided not to get the shirt? He's like, no. I said, but if you didn't have the money set aside for just you, would you have gotten the shirt and spent the money on the trip? And he said, yes, I would. And I said, wow, there's something here. Now flip it to me. I'm the one who was always afraid or felt guilty spending money on myself. I'm not saying I didn't spend money on myself, I did. I could justify 10 purchases 10 different times. That's that saver in me, right? You get the coupon, it's only $10, 10 times. But I couldn't justify necessarily spending $100 on something because that was too much. I couldn't justify it. I was still spending the same amount of money. This is behavioral finance right here. So what happened is it evened our playing field. And I didn't even realize that when I was doing this exercise of putting him on a budget, that I had this underlying feeling of inequality in our spending. And I had stress that I couldn't spend money on myself because I needed to be saving it. And yet he was spending money and I didn't even realize this was there. It leveled our playing field and it was life-changing basically for each of us and for our marriage. So that is how MeMoney came into account. And now I want to talk about who is your client. And once you see the patterns, you don't unsee them. You see the same basic advice, but different personalities and different conversations.